Hey, this is Robert Lang, and you guys listening to the Missin Curfew.
Welcome back to a fresh episode of Missin Curfew Updogg Mondays.
Big fella, it's nice to see you there in the shack. Look at that, DraftKings. Cheers! I got a little coffee here, fella.
I got the DraftKings mug. How are you? How you doing?
That's a nice mug. What do you got in there? You got a little coffee and Bailey's in there? What do you got?
No, I should go with the Getzlaff special coffee and Bailey's, but no, I'm doing like a half-assed dry January because I'm going to Vegas next Friday with our boy Billy Quinn. We're playing. You're gonna love this. We're playing Summit on Friday. We're going to UFC Apex fights on Saturday afternoon. So Updogg, the Apex is where it's like tight, old school, smaller octagon.
Totally.
And then, depending how we feel, Updogg, maybe Oilers Knights that night. So big weekend. Wow. So I can't stay off the sauce that weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't plan too many things while you're in Vegas. You know how hard it is to get up for. You've never played golf in Vegas, I think, right?
It's my first time ever playing golf. I'm flying in Friday morning. We're going right out. Shout out to my boy Herbie, who actually Herbie wants to talk to us about doing some merchandise with him too. He's like, do you know what I fucking do for a living? I'm like, Herbie, I just thought you sounded 8-0 and drank all the time. But he's like, what do you do? I was like, I do merchandise. I'm like, I'm here, the Updogg will talk to you. So
you're like, all right, Herbie, nuts, let's go, baby. What do you got for the boys? What do you got?
I'm like, make some sick hats for the Updogg. Let's see if we can get you guys approved. But no, the first time ever playing golf, Updogg. I know you think that's hilarious, but every time I go to Vegas, I just get absolutely banged up, as you know.
It's bring a toque. And speaking of toques, I'm supporting my crew here. Big win, but I hear it's pretty chilly in Vegas. Kind of a little brisky there in the desert. It can be, come January.
Yeah, I know. So we're teeing off at like 12:30 because Billy's flying in from Cabo. So it's going to be the last few holes. I might need that Canada toque. So
nice, baby, nice. Well, good luck out there. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So congrats to Team Canada, obviously Updogg, and we just thought it was fitting. We're going to get into the Czechs more and more in our podcast, that drops on Thursday. But what a run by the Czechs. And me and you, we were kind of going back and forth. And who better to have than this ultimate all-time legend that we got coming on here today, Robert Lang, a guy I met through you, who's an absolute beauty. I played against, great golfer, 6 flow. So we just thought we'd bring on the Czech legend, and thanks for grabbing him.
Yeah, Bobby Lang, boys. He was a treat. One of my favorite teammates. This guy, on and off the ice legend. I mean, battled hard for a couple of years, was I think behind points in only Lemieux one year for the Hart Trophy. This guy's an absolute legend. Like you said, he's got great flow. He's kept his Czechoslovakian, what do you call it? His accent, that nice accent. Hey, keeps that strong. I'm like, how do you live in Southern California and keep that accent, a Czech accent, so strong? But what a treat. It'll be fun talking to him. I caught up with him last week. We had some laughs. I said, listen, gold medal game. What are we playing for? A lot on the line, but congrats to those boys up in Halifax. It was insane. Nice to see them go back-to-back golds in the last 4 or 5 months. Big for Team Canada, big for Hockey Canada.
Yeah, it was huge, and like I said, there's lots of stuff. We're going to dive into more about the Halifax, the fans and stuff later in the week. But I'm glad you brought up his accent because I cannot wait for this. He has the best laugh. When we played golf with him in San Diego at La Jolla, like his laugh and his chirps and the way he says uppy is hilarious. So Czech legend, gold medal winner, Robert Lang coming at you. Welcome back to Missin Curfew, Updogg.
One of our all-time favorites here, Obi. One of our all-time favorites right here.
Great golfer, great hockey player, sick flow. And with Czech going the gold medal game, we had to bring him in. So bring him in, Updogg.
This is one of my favorite all-time teammates, Langer, not just for your hair, but because when I was vibing in Phoenix and I was feeling good, I hurt my knee. They bring in an absolute sniper to replace me on that half wall in the power play. No one other than the legend himself, Robert Lang. Thanks for joining the boys. I'm Missin Curfew, fella.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. Pleasure to join you guys, and good to see your faces.
I mean, it's a Saturday morning here. Are we taking you away from your Saturday golf game? What are we taking you away from here today?
No, Uppy. Friday. That's the game day. And then Sunday morning back at it again. So Saturday is free. This is a perfect timing.
That's
just like the boys at Big Canyon, Langer. First of all, nobody says Uppy better than Langer. Uppy says Langer the best way ever. But Langer, we play Fridays, and then the boys here play Sundays. But I don't know about you. Are you like a 7 o'clock, 7:30 tea time? Because these guys, I'm like, let's push her back to 9. Nothing wrong with 9 a.m.
there has to be a gentleman's start. I mean, let's not get nasty out there at 7:00 tea times. You know, I mean, the body doesn't move before 8:30, so it's you gotta wake up a little bit.
It's like someone asked me a question here the other day, boys, about like what's it like to play like matinee games? You guys like them or not? You know, and I'm like, listen, some coaches would tell players, you are not a morning guy. You can't practice. You can't play these noon games in New York. Langer, did you like the afternoons, or did you like to get that nap in?
I like to get the nap in. I mean, the later the better. You know, I like that 8:00 was perfect. But noon, the afternoon games, I don't know, never really felt like a real game. You know what I mean? You're so used to the routine and having that nice little day, lunch, take a nap, and then get ready, you know, to lace them up. The afternoon ones kind of never really felt like a real game.
I like the afternoon ones though, like the 2:00 start. Then you come out, get the big win. You look, it's 4:30. You're like, Updogg, we got dinner let's go have a couple dinner at 6:37. We'll be at the club. You know, we'll be the early ones there.
There were definitely upsides to the afternoon games. Like you still got the happy hour, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a little while to get the wine legs going a little bit. Hey, you're like, geez, we shouldn't have had that second bottle, boys.
Yeah, no, definitely. You had to pace yourself the night before.
Langer, obviously, you know, with Czech going to the gold medal game, we wanted to have you on for a long time, buddy. So we really appreciate it. And like I said, playing golf with you back in the day was unbelievable. We got to do it again soon. But first of all, I got to ask you, what's with this? I got in trouble the other day with calling the Czechs. Czechia. Where did this come from, Langer? What's going on? A legend like yourself, explain it to the boys, please.
No, you know, I wish I knew the answer. I don't know if they just, you know, got sick of the Czech Republic, which to me sounds pretty good and has been good for a long time. But Czechia, I don't know. I never liked it. Never got you know, to kind of accustomed to that. And to be honest, no one back home calls it that way. So, you know, even my wife, she came up I think a year ago. She's like, Czechia, what are you guys doing? Like changing your name and this and that, try to be cool. I'm like, hey, that's news to me. But I don't know. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Doesn't have the same sound. I like Czech Republic. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Not really. You know, it was lucky for them. They got the silver and all that. So it was a good start. But as far as the name, I'm not really down with it.
Yeah, Langer, you think of the Czechs, and that's like tough. You know, you're like, he's a good Czech, or we got to play the Czechs. Like these guys are bad. Like they're fucking bad news. Like they're tough. They're gonna scare the Czechs, and now it just doesn't sound like it comes off the top.
I'm with you. It's just not. I don't know why. I really must be something obviously political reason for that, or you know, whatever. But as far as just the name, I don't like it. It is not. It's kind of wimpy. You know, it's not like you said, like your Czech Republic. At least it has like a good sound to it, good little zing. The Czechia is just kind of like, let's crawl in a corner somewhere. And, you know.
Hey, but speaking of tough Czechs, Bobby, did you get a chance to watch that team play this year in the World Juniors? Because they were big, tough. I think you and I were like, this team could give these guys a run. Like they play like men. Some of these guys look like they're 35.
I was like Duppy. I was like, well, what are the boys eating over there in the Czech? Like these guys came over the first game. I'm like, they're monsters.
You know, I haven't watched. I to be honest, I never watched the juniors. You know, like never really got into it. Never played the World Juniors myself, so I guess that's maybe why I don't follow it as closely as I should. But you know, happy for the boys to perform, and you know, too bad they didn't beat Canada in the finals, but you know, it was a good showing, and I think for them it's been one of the best performances in a long time.
Yeah, Langer, you know, there was 12 guys on the Czech team that played in the CHL. Now, you never played. Did you come over here to play junior, or was that something that in Czech Republic say, hey, I want to go play in the Canadian Hockey League because it gets me to the NHL, or is that just something that's happened recently over there? Yeah,
I think, OB, that's something new. Like, you know, when this is ancient history now, but when we were coming over, it was you either made it or you played the minors, but nobody really. I think Peter Nedved was the only guy from kind of my era who started in juniors, but that was because he defected when he was so young, and he wasn't drafted yet, so he played juniors. I don't know exactly where, but I know that's the only guy from my generation that did that route. I think nowadays the guys, they do that. I think exposure for them is better, if it works out. But I something to be said about playing back home against men. You know what I mean? Like you get used to playing against big guys, and it's not as hard of a transition when you go from juniors to to the pros as when you come in from Europe. I think some of that prep is actually beneficial because you're playing against the big guys.
100%, and you're so right about that, because when you see these young guys come over, if they play in the Swedish Elite League or the Finnish League or the Czech League or whatever, they seem to be able to jump in there, Langer, because they are playing against men. So I kind of found it weird that there was 12 guys playing over here instead of playing in the Czech League or wherever over in Europe.
I think like everything, you have trends that someone starts, they do well with that, and it kind of catches on fire. It's like anything, you follow any sports, right? It's just if it's gonna last a couple of years, who knows? But if it works for them, obviously they played well. Who knows how all this will work out for them in the long run. But as far as being on a team and getting the exposure, it definitely works. So who's to judge if it's right or wrong? But I do agree, playing against men, it is beneficial if you want to just, transition to the NHL.
Yeah. And another thing, Updogg, real quick, just last night, the thing I liked about the Czech team was that they were big, like we joked about, but they played like with some edge. Like the first game against Canada, I don't know if you saw it, Langer, but they kind of bitch slapped the Canadians around, and like there was a lot of ex-NHL guys going to Twitter about this and that. But like growing up as a Czech player, like every Czech guy I played with, you guys had tons of skill, but you always played with a little bit of fuck you in you, I guess. Like, is that something that's bred over there as a young age, or because every Czech I play with, to a certain, even Milan Hajduk, Hedgie would even give you a little stick if you had to,
Yeah, I think especially against Canada, right? Because you guys own the stage, especially out here, the juniors. Like it's everyone. It's like playing against Detroit back when they were winning Stanley Cups, right? It's such an easy game to get up for because you want to beat the best. And same thing when you play Canada, I don't care what stage, Olympics, world champs, you just want to beat them, So I think automatically you kind of have that little edge built in just because you up for the game, you wanna show them, you wanna basically kick their butt. So I think that just kind of comes out, naturally. It's just like when we used to play, Russians during, the commie era. It was the same thing. You just wanted to beat them, just to shove it up.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said. It's easy to get up for those games.
Just to shove it up there.
Hey, and speaking of shoving it up there, Langer, in international hockey, you've got some accolades in the international hockey world. 1998, bring us back to like Olympic gold medal, playing Canada in the final. What it's like to maybe see Wayne Gretzky not go out in the shootout. International hockey was something you've enjoyed. 3 Olympics, 1. Gold medal. Bring us back to like what that was like when you step on the stage and you beat, Team Canada, who had some of the best players in the world.
No, first of all, 4 Olympics, Uppy, but who's
counting? I mean, 16 years.
Attaboy, Langer, 4 Olympics, Updoggs.
I thought they might have skipped one. Hey, geez.
I'm just kidding, but definitely 98 was obviously for us. It was, awesome, unbelievable experience. First tournament when all the pros were allowed, and sort of the ride that we had throughout the whole tournament was epic. Like no one was looking at us. US was basically the number 1 team at the time. They were predicted to be the strongest team, and they were loaded. Like everyone had their best, right? If it was the Russians, if it was Canada, US. I mean, there was not a bad team in that tournament. Like, that was just, unheard of, and everybody wanted to play because it was the first tournament, that everybody could. So guys like Wayne and all the superstars who never got the chance, of course they wanted to go and play Olympics because it's Olympics. So, the way it worked out for us, obviously had the best outcome we could hope for and won the gold. But the way it happened, it was like someone literally scripted, right? Like we, beat Canada in the shootouts and Wayne not going in a shootouts. It was kind of crazy. I think guys, they were going after Mark Crawford, not putting him out there. I don't know if Wayne didn't want to go or what was, behind the scenes sort of thing. But, then we played Russians in a final and, it was kind of like the cherry on the top. But the whole experience was just unbelievable.
So Langer, like when you go in there 98, like when did you guys know? I've never played in a world champ. I've never played international hockey at all. So like when you're in a short tournament like that, like what at one time after a game do you look over to whoever, Hayduk or whoever, and say, "Fuck boys, we're as good as anybody"? Like when in '98 did it click? Like, hey, we can do this, guys.
You know what? It kind of clicked in the beginning. Like we were sort of just having the mentality, like definitely wanted to win. Like we had a great team and Dom was in the net, playing awesome and we had guys up front, good defense, but it kind of, I don't know, clicked together as we went, through the tournament. All of a sudden we were like, yeah, you know what, like we can do this. And then, no one really overthought it, right? Like no one was like, oh my God, we gotta, this is it, like, life or death. I think everybody, by the time you play a couple games, everybody's either in or you're going home. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's super easy. It's just like playing Canada. Like I said, it's easy to get up, right? These tournaments, every game is so easy to get up for because they literally mean everything. So it's like playing, Stanley Cup finals and literally every game is that game, right? So you just go for 2 weeks and every game is basically like, guys, this is it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry, Bobby, I was going to ask, is there anyone like on your international stage that you played with that you kind of grew up with and that you were always excited to kind of get back and play, would wear the jersey with? Like, was there anyone in that group of guys that you played with that were like your childhood buddy that you grew up with?
Yeah, so it's funny, Appy, you asked that. Like, from that team, I grew up playing in Litvinov. It's, small little town back home, first division, all that. So from that, basically my classroom, and we were, going to juniors and all that, there were 5 guys that we were in a class together that we played on that Olympic team. So like Marty Ruchinski, Robert Reichel, Yuri Schlager, myself, we all were basically classmates when we were little kids and grew up playing together basically, the whole time back home. And then with some of them, obviously, played with Schlage in Pittsburgh for 5 years or wherever. But it's always fun, like you said, Up. It's always fun to, sort of rekindle, the memories and get on the ice with these guys. It gives you like that little jump because, it's like you getting together with, your buddies back home and being like, yeah, I remember, like, it's
totally
fun.
Hey, Langer, speaking of Robert Reichel, I remember Reichs as a Leaf kind of with the welding shield on. And I'm like, he's kind of but man, he was a sick player. Like, obviously Connor Bedard just, Robert Reichel was 4th all time in World Junior points. So he was a stud from day one, right? Yeah.
Oh, he was an unbelievable player. I remember he was kind of like the youngest of the whole group of us. When he was 15 or 16, he already played in a first division men's league, back home, and he broke the scoring record when he was like 16, so he was a hell of a player since he was, a junior guy, young guy. And I don't think he really got credit for it. But even when he played for the Flames, like if you look up his stats, he had some seasons with 40 plus goals and 90 plus points. Like it's it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was
Bobby, I had a chance to play with you, obviously, like in the middle of my career, but I always look up to you. And you were kind of that older guy I wanted to go for dinner with. I wanted to like sit next to on the plane, play some cards. When you were younger coming into the league, were there guys that you were kind of like, you know, you wanted to follow, you wanted to kind of learn how they were a pro? Like some of these older guys that you played with that, you know, you were like, man, I want to be like that guy. And I learned so much from him.
Yeah, I got lucky up there. I mean, you know, I started in LA when LA was basically, you know, taking off. Like Gretz was there, brought hockey to California. Like we were selling out every game for, you know, I think 2 years in a row. Like it was crazy, right? Like hockey was just like, you know, booming in SoCal. So it was like, you know, no Ducks, no Sharks. That was not really existing at the time. Like no one really cared. But the Kings were really the real deal. And you know, I got to play with all the guys from Edmonton era. You know, Luke Robitaille, who was at the time, you know, in his prime, like Lucky Luke. Like you know, you just put it around, you just put it around him and you put that in. But all the guys were awesome. Like you know, I remember. Like you said that, like I always went to dinner with like Jari Kurri. He was awesome guy. Always someone who would be like, hey, let's go. Like, you know, we are in Toronto, let's go. They had a place there, you know, Tony Granato, same thing. Like, you know, so I think you have to have the guys like that who are inclusive of the young kids, right? And being just like, hey, you know, not that you wanna just, you know, obviously just boozing it up every time you go on the road, but you know, it's definitely something that I think brings the team together when you have the older guys, you know, with the young kids and sort of taking them under their wing and just having fun. Like, you know, there is nothing to it, no secret. I think it just brings everybody together.
So Bobby, you're sorry, Obi, one second. You're like a 19-year-old coming from Czech. And you're going to Southern California. You got the palm tree.
I was just going to ask him that.
And then you're looking around. You're like, what the hell is this? Like, yeah. And I know Prague is good. And me and Obi have spent a little bit of time in Prague.
I want to ask you about Prague.
Talk about LA Forum, like the Forum Club. And we're told this, that like the Lakers had, you know, obviously great teams and all the people would go to watch the Lakers, but all the girls would go watch the Kings. Like they all love the Kings, right? They love to go to the
look at his hair. Look at his hair. Of course they did.
Give me like the young version of Bobby Lang going in, probably, you know, speaking a little bit better English than you do now. Yeah. What's that like for a 19-year-old?
You know, it was great. And again, the group of guys we had there, you know, Rob Blake was, you know, couple years older than me or earlier there. So he was, you know, the young upcoming, you know, D and all that stuff. But all the guys were just fun to be around. So like, you know, like you said, the old Forum Club, it was fun. Like it was, you know, you open up the curtain, you walked in and, you know,
You're a national leaguer now. You're like, oh,
exactly.
This is nice.
Yeah. No,
that's great.
But to your point, it was, you know, it was definitely a culture shock when you go in from, you know, just basically post communist era, right?
Yeah.
It was 3 years. I came in 92, you know, 89 was when basically it ended in Czech. And, you know, so yeah, it was changing back home, but nothing compared to, you know, LA at it, you know, in the 90s. Like it was definitely, you know, like you walk in, it's like, oh yeah, okay. So this
I get used to this.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, Langer, Updogg brought up Prague, and I wanted to talk to you about it because I don't even know if I ever told you this when we were golfing, but I went over to Tampa Bay my third year in the league. We went over to Prague. They took us 12 days before the game, Langer. 12 days. And this is before iPads, and there was one English TV channel. It's not like you can sit in your room. Like, so I went out 10 days straight. Like, I don't know. I ended up getting traded, but what a great city, man. It's one of my favorite cities. The women were beautiful. Everything was great. How much time did you spend in Prague when you were younger? Like when you went home, would you go back to Prague and train and enjoy the city?
No.
No.
I would just go basically back home. We would do little trips, you know, with the buddies, but Prague back then was a little different than it is now. It wasn't, I mean, it was always great city, but it it wasn't basically as open as it is now, right? So like it was more little clicks here, little clicks there, and people didn't used to, just go there from like our town. That was not something that you would do on regular basis. Like you would do it every now and then, but that was it. But when I go back now, obviously I always just stay there, go visit my parents and kind of do the back and forth. But I think always, like to your point, Obi, like, going there for 12 days, that's a little, I don't know if you guys won that game, but.
We didn't win. Olaf Kolzig got like 52 shots on him. We lost like 3-1. I had Brian Lawton on my NHL Sirius XM show. I'm like, Lots, he was the GM. I'm like, what were you thinking 12 days? He's like, yeah, it might have been a bad. I'm like, you think? He's just like, it's 4 days before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we did one in Tokyo against the Preds, and but I think we did 5 days. 5 days before. 5 days before, and it was plenty. It was plenty. Trust me. It was definitely enough. But I think it's fun. But it's definitely tough on a team to sort of have the discipline. I mean, you go into Tokyo or Prague or places like that. You want to see it. You want to enjoy it. It's part of it. At the end of the day, it is just one game. So not to say that it doesn't matter, but if it's fun with the boys and you may not perform to your 100%, well, sometimes you got to do something.
Langer, I knew I was in trouble when Colton Orr took me wide. I was like, no disrespect to Orsi, but I was like, fuck, I just got dangled by Orr. I'm like, I was still thinking of that Prague girl that I fell in love 3 times there, Langer. 3 times I fell in love.
Hey, Bobby, let's talk about Yogs for a sec. Are you shocked that Yogs is still doing what he's doing? Were you like, this kid's going to just play till he's like in his grave? Like he's just, he breathes hockey all day long.
Definitely. And, to a point, he owns the team, right? So I think he can technically do whatever he wants. But, I think if he had, young kids, family and sort of, that going on, I don't think he would be playing. You know what I mean?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I think injury-wise, your body, I mean, I'm, 52 now and I would like to play hockey, but I know it's physically not possible. So, the mind is still there. But, unfortunately, the body kind of, tells you otherwise. I mean, good for him. I haven't seen the level of play that he's putting up or whatever. He's always been a great guy, good friend of mine, and more power to him. Hopefully he'll just get the team and stays in a first division for a little while and sort of gets himself out of there and, just move on into the management and enjoy life.
Did he always have, I was going to say, I played with Yogs in Florida for a year. Did he always have, like, when he was younger, like these weird little things he'd do with the ankle weights and like shooting the medicine balls with a stick and like staying at the rink for fucking, 15 hours a day? Was he always like that creature of the game, or was it something you think he had to do as he got older?
Well, even in Pitt, I know he had, like, he would go down there and go to the rink at, whatever odd times at night or just in sweats and skates and shoot pucks or work on stuff. I think he always was kind of like a little, trying to figure out things, maybe, obviously get better and all that, but on his, own, without anybody sort of watching or talking about it and, asking questions and this and that. I think that was always kind of his ammo, just kind of, I'm going to go and tinker or whatever you want to call it, but he always had that kind of in him. It got, I think, a little progressively worse as his career got longer. But I think he always had that. He always did little odd things here and there.
That was like Corey Perry, boys. My rookie year, I played with Pierce Anaheim. We had like a couple rituals before the game. Fast forward 11 years, I get called up into the Ducks in Tampa. Pears is touching 47 things before the game. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to do this. So I'm like, it doesn't matter if you touch the glove dryer 14 times, Pears. Just go in the front of the net. You're going to score. Like,
it's funny. Like it works once, right? Like we are all such creatures of habit. And then you have guys like, like I played with Gretz or Mario, and they never even taped their own sticks. Then they would just tell the trainer, just like pick 4, okay, pick 4. They would flex them. He said, yeah, these are good. Tape them up. And the guys literally from the grip to the blade, they would do it all and just put them on a bench. 2 of the probably best point getters, Gretz obviously, Mario didn't play as long, but, best point getters in a game. And as far as like sticks or any kind of pregame was just like, yeah, not really. I'll just go up and put it in a net,
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Langer, just stick with Yogs. Like when he was in his prime and you were playing with him in Pitt, and like, I don't know, I went through this a little bit with Ryan O'Reilly. I was like, let's get away from the game a little bit. Like the fact that he's a great leader and he's a great player, but sometimes I was like, buddy, you've done enough today. Let's go. I was probably too far the other way, Langer. I probably should have stayed in the rink a little bit longer instead of hustling to lunch. But I guess my question is, was there ever a time where like, Yogs, come on, buddy, fuck it, let's go. We're good. We're in first place. You're playing great. Let's go have dinner or something.
Yeah, he always, he liked being with the boys, right?
Yeah.
But he never really drank. So if he had a beer or glass of wine, literally I haven't seen him do that until he was older. When we were in Pitt, he would go with everybody for dinners and this and that, but was never really, much of a sort of a drinker or anything like that. He would go and, if he would go out, he would still go with us, but never really like that big of a party guy, and as far as drinking, that wasn't his thing. So, he definitely liked to have fun. So that was no issue. And I think especially in Pitt when he was, playing his best, I remember games then we would go to Philly and, back then, obviously hold-in and hook-in, especially if you played in Philly, there was no such a thing as hold-in and hook-in. So he would just get abused the whole game. And for a guy, to put up with that every night, basically, and produce the way he did, you had to, tip of the cap because that was... he didn't have, especially in Pitts, like he had some good players when I was there, with him, but he was basically the engine of the whole team. So, it was something to watch.
Yeah, let's stay in Pitt, Langer. So, and let's just transition that to you. Like, you played the game the right way, no visor, but you're a guy from Czech coming over, hooking and holding, fighting. Like, what did you think of the game back then? And is it just something you dealt with? Because you're a big guy. You could handle it. But yeah, some nights where you're like, fuck off, that's a hook or that's a hold. Or
yeah, but I think back then everybody just played the same way, right? So I remember we were in Montreal once, and you get tripped. Like I'm getting a breakaway, you get tripped, and I'm looking at the ref, and he's like, "Oh, come on, you better skater than that." And I'm just like, really? But you just took it the way it was. It went both ways. And, at the end of the year, it all evened out. I think if I would change anything to the game now, I would bring a little bit more of the physicality back in. Yeah. I love to see the game fast and skilled and all that. But I think hockey was always thought of as, the real man's game. Like, you had to basically be tough, even if you didn't fight or any of that. You had to be tough to play it, right? And I think now it a little bit kind of goes away. I'm not saying, it's not there at all, but I would like to see it back to some point, just a little bit more of the battles.
Yeah, I think we can all attest to that, right? Like those butterflies you used to have as a younger guy going in, you're like, these guys are full-grown men. I'm going to get beat up when I go to the net. But that whole thing, that mindset made hockey like what it is. It made it like that. It made it that kind of war where like at the start of every season, you're like, okay, I feel healthy right now, but this is going to start to hurt right away. Now these kids kind of go in and they're just like, what kind of logos are we going to put on my skates today, or what kind of flashy kind of tape am I going to use? It's like they're just out there to kind of have highlight reel goals and stuff. Where we were before, it was like a full hey, we're going to war. You wanted to show your older teammates that you were like this young kid that bought into the whole program. It was a mindset that I think is a little bit missed in today's game. You guys are right.
I think so. Like if and obviously you don't want to go too far back, but if you look up, Holmstrom, the price he had to pay to stand in front of the net, right? Dino Ciccarelli, Pat Verbeek, like those were not big guys. And back in the day when, you had Kevin Stevens and, guys of his basically protecting the crease and the goalie, you really had to grow a pair to go on the front of them. That's just how it is. And those guys had their jobs because they figured that out, right? Yeah. So I think there's something to be said when the guy figures out a skill that he's good at and perfects it. It just really doesn't exist nowadays that, you could be 150 pounds and you stand on front and no one really can do anything.
Yeah, and Langer, but that's what I preach that every week when I do Mr. Curfew, Updogg, or other stuff. Like the open ice hits where guys are getting their head taken off, fine. I can live with that out of the game. But like the hits in the corners and in front of the net, like Holmstrom's a great example. It was near the end of his career when I was in the league, but I would cross-check him and abuse him, and he would just look at me. It was almost frustrating because you're like, punch me in the face or something, and he would just look at me and go right back. But Langer, I'm with you in front of that net, and now you see all the time. I don't know how much NHL you watch, but goaltender interference every fucking play. It's like, if you let me do my job as a defenseman and keep Robert Lang out of the blue paint, we don't have to worry about this. And at the same time, if you want to get 20 and you go to the front of the net, you got to pay a price.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Like it's definitely, you got to protect especially the stars of the games from getting taken out, right? Like you said, if it's a head hit, no, that doesn't belong in a game. You have to, hit hard, but you have to have respect for the other player, right? You don't want to put someone in a wheelchair or, stuff like that. You can play the game hard without playing it cheap. So I think there is a balance there. But I do agree, like you have to let the guys battle it out. It's part of the whole game. It has been there for so long. So I think just by taking it out, and if you do watch hockey now, I do every now and then, and I still, enjoy watching it, but there are calls that you just kind of laugh. I mean, the guy loses his stick or it's stick on stick, and they call it. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, let's, this is.
Langer, I almost ripped my TV off the wall the other night. It's Colorado, Vancouver. I got my money on the Avs, and I've been on a little bit of a cold streak, Langer. 2-0 Avs. And this fucking young ref, I don't know his name. I'm going to look it up before this week's pod. A little one-handed stick lift. It calls 2 minutes. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I know. It's like, there is a obviously fine line, but you have to let the guys battle it out. That's exactly. That's the best thing about hockey, right? Like the grind, the gritty, like the guy who is willing to pay the price. That's the guy who you want, right? If no one has to pay the price, well, how do you pick them? Just by skating? I mean, everyone can skate nowadays. So, I think that ingredient has to come back in.
Yeah,
Bobby,
and that's a great. Yeah, go ahead, Ups.
No, I was just going to bring us, if you don't mind, I was going to bring us to Phoenix. Just at that point of your. That point of your career, right? You come in, you've had a great
Updogg.
No, and you've had a great career, Langer. And we could be here all day talking about all the highlight reel goals, the backdoor passes you made. You're an incredible player. When you came to Phoenix, you're at the latter part of your career. We had a great team. Were you did you know kind of the end was coming? And at that point, were you like, did you want to keep playing? Were you ready to take the next step and be more of a father and move to Southern California full time, or were you still kind of like, I want to do this? Because I still struggle with it. I'm 4 years out of the game, and Obi will tell you, I always think I can go back and play, which is fucking crazy. But
I told you I have to get in the weight room a little bit, Langer. I told you I have to get in the weight room.
Oh yeah, I just want to go work on my short game. But, to bring the mindset of coming into Scottsdale and still being a great player, but knowing that, like, maybe, your days are kind of up, and if you want to stay in hockey or maybe not, or what was that like for you?
I think, I was, 39 at the time. No, 38. Sorry, 38. But I think if you plan in the retirement, you already retired. You know what I mean? I always thought of it, when the day comes, it comes, and I don't enjoy the game anymore, or I cannot play, I'll just pack it up mid-season and I'll be gone. Like, I didn't want to hang on just to, get another game in, or some kind of a stat that at the end of the day, who cares, But I think you have to play it with passion, and if you don't have it anymore, just walk away. You know what I mean? And I always like playing. Like, if I could play another 5 years, after I retired physically and all that at a good level, I would have done it. But, I think every guy reaches that point. Like, all of us are retired. So it's like, A, can you get a job, right? Is someone willing to pay me? And B, at the end of the career, you're almost 40 years old. It's like, do I want to drag the whole family for another year? Like, kids are in school. Is it, am I doing this for myself? Am I still enjoying it? Like, if you start thinking like that, you probably done. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if I, like, to your point at Phoenix, I loved it, enjoyed, the team and all that. I never even thought about retiring then. I mean, even it was my last game, at the end of the year, I never thought it was. And, I went, trained the summer, this and that, and then I decided, no, I'm done. So, but to your point, I don't know, like, guys do plan it, guys don't. I never thought of it that way. I like to think that, I just played all the games the same, and I thought, okay, it's going to be another season, and I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I think it's almost better that way because you just enjoying the game, as they come, instead of being like, oh, I got 20 to go.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier when you're driving the rink from Scottsdale than if you're in Edmonton. You're like 39. You're like, I think I'm done. Fuck, I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
No, that's
so. And Bobby, have you found peace? Like, it's been 10, 12 years. Have you found? Yeah. Are you happy? Your kids are now. When you told me the other day, your kids are in college and in graduating high school. To me, that was crazy. You had these cute little boys, blonde hair, surfer kids from Southern California, and now they're all grown up. It's crazy. But have you found peace when you left the game now?
Yeah. I mean, it obviously, for all of us, we've done it since we were little kids. So, it's such a huge part of your life since you a young kid. That's what you do every day, year round, right? For 30 some years, almost 40 years, basically. And it's not easy to replace it because, the physical part, obviously, you're missing that because that's what you do. You train your whole life, you skate in, you have that output, you have the hits, right? Like, you can sort of vent, if you want to, you bottled up, you're just like, I'm just going to hit somebody, then all of a sudden, like, you have those outlets, right? Like, it's not easy to replace it with just like, oh, I'm just going to punch a guy in a bar. Like, that doesn't work, buddy. Right? You got to end up thinking
that's not cool, man. That's not cool.
But, I think after like probably 4 or 5 years, you kind of get into a new routine, you figure it out. And I think living away from hockey sort of helped. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in La Jolla, like, there's no hockey.
Yeah.
Like, the Ghost. Sorry, OB.
That's okay, buddy. That's okay, buddy. That's okay.
But it's not a mecca, right? Even in LA now, you have a lot of guys who are there, retired and all that. So you kind of go into the games and this and that. I think stepping totally away from it is sort of like, you rip the Band-Aid instead of peeling it off slowly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And once you, I obviously I like golf. I like plenty of things to keep myself busy. So you slowly just transition into that. And I have to say, like, I really don't think about playing hockey now unless I talk to one of you guys or my buddies back home. But it's, like you said, it's been so long, you kind of move on.
Yeah.
I mean, with your golf swing, I'd like golf too, Langer. I'm going through it. But hey, Langer, you ever play pickleball?
I'm just about to start. All my buddies, they transitioned to that. So, a lot of the guys I play golf with, they are like, oh, we gotta, pickle game. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, what are we, old men,
Yeah.
But I guess it's the new thing. So, at the beach club down here, we got a couple courts. So, I think I'm going to have to pick that up.
Hey, remember how good of a tennis player Verby was?
Yeah.
Langer, Verby could play tennis. He used to kick the shit out of all of us when we go play tennis in Scottsdale. Did you play tennis growing up? Is it a Checo thing? Yeah.
Tennis was big, and especially when we were young, we played all the sports. I think that's one thing that, all the parents here, they kind of forget about. Like, we were basically in a hockey school, right? But as soon as the season ended, they, got rid of the ice, and we didn't put skates on for 3-4 months, but we played all the other sports. And like, to your point, everything is fun, but everything is competitive. So, we played tennis, we played all that, but, I think it just helps you with everything because it's, you give the body a break, and you kind of, I want to play hockey again,
Yeah. No, that's these kids play all year round. Like near the end of my career, Langer, when I was playing for the Gulls, the kids started skating in started June. The Stanley Cup playoffs weren't even over. They're skating. I'm like, boys, you got this all backwards. Like, you don't have to go as far as I did. Don't start skating until August 1st, but there's a happy medium there somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, go chase some girls or play golf or do something. Get off the ice.
No, I think, I used to, that was back home. You started the ice training a little bit sooner than here. Plus, the season started sooner too. But at the end of my career, like I remember, it started when I was playing with Alexei Kovalev in Pittsburgh, and we literally didn't skate it until the first day in camp. Like you train. You were training, you were in shape and all that, but we literally would not put the skates on until the first day in camp. And I'm like, it's gonna hurt for a week. But
that's awesome, man.
But you were fresh. To your point, though, be like, by the time, a New Year's came, some guys would be like, damn, I've been skating for, 5 months. I'm like, not me. I'm still fresh.
It's funny you say that, and Teemu Selanne, and he would come out, we would joke. It would be, 2 weeks, 10 days before camp, and out would come the flash. We'd look at each other like, wow, camp's got to be getting close here, right? Here's the flash. But he was in good shape already, and he would just ride the bike, stretch the body, stretch the career, and he just took care of himself, and he was fresh. Especially as he got older, I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's not out here mid-July bagging himself.
No, I mean, the big misconception is you're not gonna forget how to skate, right? You've been doing that your whole life. You're saving your body from, mentally more than physically, because you've been doing it so much. But you have to be in shape. That's without, you can't be thinking, just because I'm not skating, I can just basically sit on the couch and eat, drink beer and eat potato chips. No, you gotta be in the top shape physically, and the skating, literally, it's a matter of 4 days, maybe a week. So I think, especially when you're a veteran and you don't have to battle for the spot on a team, right? Because you on a roster and you've been doing this for a while, you have the luxury of basically giving yourself a break, from not skating basically the extra 2 months.
Yeah. Hey, Langer, I always wanted to ask you this. Updogg mentioned that you were a veteran guy that he looked up to. What did you think when you showed up to Phoenix as a veteran guy and this fucking Upshaw's buzzing around? Just tell me your first, what did you think as a veteran? Were you like, look at this? I don't know. What did you think of the Updogg when you first, as a veteran guy?
Uppy was always fun, right? But he was all over the place. So he was, so you kind of had to take it with a grain of salt. But I always liked the guys like Uppy who were full of energy, right? Even if sometimes if it was you were just shaking your head, just what is this doing? But I'd rather have that than just a guy who's just sitting in a corner and has nothing to say. You know what I mean? Like I always like guys who wanted to have fun and were up for anything and just kind of, you know, life of the team. You know, I think it brings the energy of the team up and it's just fun to be around. You know, no one wants to just be around 20 guys who just watch iPads and play video games.
Yeah, you had Biz and me just buzzing around. We're like, Jesus, like between the two of us, it's like, where the hell are these guys going? Hurry up and get this game over with, boys.
I love that Langer said he's all over the place. He's still like that, Langer. He's still like that today. He's all over the place.
I mean, if you're going in this straight line, I think you're going the wrong way. You got to just be all over the map.
Yeah, you got to bounce up a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
but I have to.
He's bouncing.
Yeah, I have to laugh when I see Biz on TV now, you know, doing the commentary. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, you know,
it's wild.
Yeah,
it's absolutely wild, and he's killing it. He's great for the game.
Yeah,
and he's killing we saw it at the beginning.
Yeah,
I want to ask you. Sorry, I want to ask you this earlier about Kovalev. There was this thing I saw on Instagram about like the sickest style, and you had sick style, but how nasty was he, and how sickest style was he back in the day?
Oh, dude, like. When Kobe came to Pitt, right? He came there from New York, and I remember we were just warming up, skating around, like, you know, with pucks, whatever, just kind of cruising, and he would just stretch, right? He would just do like little groin stretches, and he would just grab a puck, and he would just like, you know, he just looked at you like across the ring and just like throw a sauce, you know, like 10 feet in the air, and he just landed flat on your stick, and you're just like, is this guy for real or what? Like what is he doing here? He should be, you know, putting up 150 points every year. Like this is stupid. Like I remember even Jags, who, you know, at the time was in his heyday, and he was just like, dude, this guy, like the set of hands on him and everything, like the skating, you know, mobility and all that stuff, changing, you know, directions and all that. It was something to watch. It was pretty special.
He was a beast too. His legs were just monsters. He was just an ox.
Oh yeah, he was a big dude. Like like I remember guys thought, oh, I'm just gonna hit him. Like, oh yeah, if you want to hit him, you better get ready because you're gonna get rocked.
Yeah. Hey, Lang, I just want to ask you real quick. You talked about training. Like, how much did it change throughout your career of the way guys train? Because I often look back at the way I trained. You know, me and Loops worked out together. So I was doing the same exact workouts as Lupo. And looking back, I'm like, why was I doing the same thing as Loops? I was a bigger guy that didn't need to get stronger. Like I should have been doing more flexible. But like, how did your training evolve throughout your career?
I think you have some routine that you know works for you, right? So like, I always like lifting weights and never liked running. So I never ran. Hardly ever. I like the bike, so I killed myself on a bike. But you're right, like, you know, especially nowadays, the science of the working out, I think is so much better. It's more efficient. So the guys can, you know, really dial it in, the quick twitch muscles and the explosiveness and all that. I think that's the biggest advantage that, you know, during my career, it was pretty much up to you. If you find a good trainer that you liked and he knew what he was doing, you know, you kind of just stuck with it. But like, I think now you have, you know, I mean, you can look up anything on YouTube, right? Like how to train for this or how to train. And some of these guys, I'm not saying everybody, but some of these guys are really good at what they do. I think the young kids, you know, have good advantage with this as far as, you know, getting in better shape and quicker and faster.
Hey, Obi, you'll love this. Bobby, who taught you the wall sit? Because this guy, after every game, he would come in and he would do 20 minutes of wall sits. And I'm like, your fucking quads are already monsters. Like, what are you doing? Well, who taught you that? You used to do wall sits after almost every game.
Yeah, we did. I think with Kobe or maybe Jags started that. I don't know. One of these two guys. But
I'm like, I come in, he's in the old 90, perfect little sit. I'm like, grab a damn chair and a beer, would you? You just got 2 and 2. I would you sit on a couch or something? Or he's just 20 minutes on the wall, just sitting there, sitting on air. It was impressive, boy. That's good. Bobby, hey, listen, we appreciate you taking your time. You're a legend to us. You're a legend to all the guys in our era, man. You played the game the right way. We appreciate it. We got to get down the 405 and come see you and play some golf down in La Jolla. Take some take some of that hard-earned National League pension money you got there. But we appreciate it, bud. You're looking good. Family's healthy. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. Anytime, guys. Anytime. And let's get together and, play some golf and have a couple beers.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. You're a legend. Thank you,
boys.
Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Updogg. Thanks for grabbing him. What a guy. I miss him to laugh. Nobody says Uppy better than him. I mean, he's just a beauty.
Yeah, he is. We've been wanting to get him on for a while. It's been hard, even though he's our neighbor down here in Orange County.
I know.
But I think we dove into it, great with him. He had a great career. He played with some incredible players. I'm not going to make that the reason why he was so damn good. But I enjoyed, like I've always said to you, I enjoyed having, some of the great veteran guys that I've got to play with. He's definitely up top, top 10 of those guys. So just a fun guy. You can tell how much, he enjoyed coming to the rink and, just one of those guys that if shit was going bad, he was still laughing and having fun. And if the coach was getting on guys, he'd kind of come over and tell a joke, get the coach. He's like, fuck the coach. It's a long year, bud. You're going to turn pucks over. Just, it's all good. Jagr turns pucks over too. He would say things to you as a younger guy that you would appreciate. So, one of the best. Appreciate him coming on.
Yeah, I wish I would have the opportunity to play with him because, I played some golf with him through you and just having him on today, he just makes you feel better, right? His the way he talks, his laugh is great, his demeanor is great. So let's get down there and tee it up with him. And like I said, Updogg, thanks again for grabbing him. Fella, looking forward to getting back in the studio with you this week. Enjoy the rest of the time in Aspen, bud. And thanks again for getting Langer.
That was Missin Curfew.